Welcome back to Dark Case Diaries. Dark Case Diaries isn't just a channel. It's where the forgotten are remembered and the untold is finally heard. Today on this channel won't be different. He warned them. They laughed. Then he showed his rank, and the nation watched. It started on an ordinary night, a quiet road, a traffic stop that should have lasted 5 minutes. But when arrogance met authority, when disrespect collides with dignity, the whole nation stopped and watched, because what those officers didn't know was that the man they mocked, the man they tried to strip of respect, it wasn't just another face in the dark. He was a high-ranking U.S. general, and when he showed his rank, everything changed. The camera of the mind zooms into a lonely highway. Red and blue lights flicker against wet asphalt. 2 officers step out of their cruiser. Their boots echo on the pavement. They walk up to a black SUV that slowed, then pulled over reluctantly. Inside sits a man. Calm, steady. He rolls down his window with deliberate slowness. Officer number 1, mocking tone. License and registration. Step out of the vehicle. The man doesn't move. He looks at them, not defiant, not afraid. Just still. Man measured, deep voice. Are you sure you want to do this? The officers glance at each other, smirking. Officer number 2. Yeah, tough guy. Step out of the car before this gets bad for you. They laugh. They don't see the weight in his eyes. They don't feel the gravity of the warning he just gave. And so, they push harder. He steps out slowly. Tall, broad-shouldered. The kind of presence that can't be faked. The night air is tense. His shadow stretches under the flashing lights. Man calm, steady. I'll give you one chance to treat this stop with respect. One chance. The officers scoff. Officer number 1, sarcastic. Oh, one chance. Who do you think you are? They laugh again. And in that laughter, history cracks open. Because this man isn't just anyone. He isn't just another driver, another statistic in a system that too often chews up dignity and spits it out. He is a general in the United States Army. And when he pulls out his ID, the shield of his rank, the proof of his service, their laughter dies. The cameras mounted on their dash and body armor capture it all. The smugness draining from their faces. The sudden stiffness in their stance. The realization of the man they mocked, belittled, threatened, outranked every badge on their chest. He warned them. They laughed. And now the nation will watch. Because within hours, the footage would go viral. Within days, news outlets would swarm. And within weeks, America would be asking questions no department wanted to answer. How could they not know who he was? How could they treat a decorated general this way? And if they could do it to him, what about everyone else? Before the red and blue sirens cut through the night, before the laughter, before the silence, there was a man. His name, General Marcus Harlan. Decorated, respected, known within the armed forces as a leader of iron discipline and uncommon humanity. Born in Birmingham, Alabama, in the mid-1960s, Marcus had grown up in a world that rarely gave second chances to boys who looked like him. His father worked double shifts in a steel mill. His mother kept the family steady with equal measures of love and stern resolve. Marcus was the first in his family to wear a uniform. First a junior ROTC at his high school, then a scholarship to West Point, then deployment after deployment across deserts and battlefields that most Americans only saw on TV. He had been shot at. He had held dying soldiers in his arms. He had carried medals home, but also ghosts. And yet, after 3 decades in service, he walked with quiet humility, the kind of man who didn't need to raise his voice to command a room. That night, when he saw the flashing lights behind him, he wasn't worried. He was cautious, yes, alert, always, but worried? No, because Marcus Harlan knew who he was, what he had given, and the rank he carried in his wallet. The 2 men who stepped out of the cruiser were young compared to him. Officer Daniels, early 30s, sharp jaw, the swagger of someone who wore a badge like a shield of invincibility. And Officer Kravitz, 5 years younger, eager, desperate to prove himself, the kind who laughed at every joke his partner made, no matter how cruel. For them, this was routine. Another late-night stop. Another driver they could push around. They didn't see a man of stature. They saw someone who didn't comply fast enough. Someone who wasn't trembling at their tone. And that offended them. Daniels, leaning in, stepped out of the vehicle. "Now!" General Harlan measured. "I'll step out when you explain the reason for the stop." Daniels smirked, tapping the roof of the SUV. "Daniels, reason is because I said so." They chuckled, a private laugh shared between two men who thought they owned the night. They didn't realize they were laughing in the face of history. When General Harlan stepped out, the body cams caught everything. The calm, heavy tone of his warning, the disdain in their chuckles, and then the moment, the slow, deliberate reach into his jacket, the snap of a leather wallet, and the gleam of an ID that bore the golden seal of the United States Army. General Harlan, steady. "I am a general of the United States Army, and you are about 3 seconds away from making a mistake you will regret for the rest of your careers." The laughter stopped. Daniels froze first, his smirk faltering as if the world had shifted beneath his boots. Kravitz stammered, the words catching in his throat. "Kravitz, General?" The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was loaded, like the air right before a storm breaks. They let him go. Of course they had to, but the footage didn't disappear. The dash cam and body cam recordings were logged, processed, and within hours, someone leaked them. It spread like wildfire. General confronted at traffic stop. They laughed until he showed his rank. Clips on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. Millions of views overnight. Anchors debated it on prime time. Pundits shouted about respect, authority, profiling, arrogance. Hashtags trended. Hashtag he warned them. Hashtag General Harlan. Hashtag respect the rank. And everywhere, the same haunting question lingered. If this is how they treated a U.S. general, what chance does anyone else have? General Marcus Harlan sat alone that night in his study after the incident. The laughter of those two young officers still echoed in his ears. Sharp, mocking, dismissive. But what cut deeper wasn't their arrogance. It was the fact that they never saw him first as a man, let alone as a soldier. They saw only what they wanted to see. A black man in an expensive car, driving home too late, refusing to tremble. Harlan leaned back, fingers steepled beneath his chin, staring at the medals on the wall. Each one earned in deserts, jungles, and battlefields where laughter had no place. He thought about the soldiers who had followed his orders without question, young men who'd trusted his word with their lives, soldiers he'd sent home in flag-draped coffins. And now, back on American soil, after 30 years of service, he was still fighting to be seen. The video didn't stay hidden long. It first appeared on a small Reddit thread dedicated to accountability in policing. Within an hour, a user clipped the 40-second interaction. The smirks, the ID, the officer's stunned silence. The caption read, "They laughed, then he showed his rank." By dawn, the clip had millions of views across Twitter and TikTok. By noon, news stations were cutting segments into their broadcasts. The image of General Harlan holding his ID became a meme, superimposed with captions like, "Know your place. Respect isn't optional. Not all battles are fought overseas." What had been a private humiliation now became a national spectacle. 2 days later, his phone rang. The caller ID was blocked, but the voice on the other end was clear. "General, this is the Secretary of Defense." Marcus straightened in his chair, even though he was alone. Secretary measured, careful. "You should know, this video has reached the Oval Office." There was a pause, a silence heavy with implication. General Harlan, and what does the Commander-in-Chief think? Secretary, he thinks you've just become the face of something bigger than all of us. Meanwhile, officers Daniels and Kravitz were summoned to internal affairs. Daniels came in with the same cocky stride, trying to mask the weight pressing down on him. Kravitz looked pale, jittery, like he hadn't slept in days. They were shown the footage. They were asked to explain. "Investigator, you understand who this man is, don't you?" Daniels, shrugging. "Doesn't matter who he is. Law's the law." But even he couldn't disguise the crack in his confidence when the investigator leaned in. Stay turned for part 2. this Dark Case Diaries. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Till next time.